Welcome back, my fellow agents. As I, X7, your animated Agent of Awesome, at least your stop motion animated Agent of Awesome, as we will see, the host of Xenorama, the podcast of heroes and monsters. Today, we will be looking at a film that Svengoolie aired last night, the Fiend Without A Face, which is one that I really enjoy. It's not a perfect movie by any stretch, but it moves along quickly. There's a lot of griping about that it's pretty boring at the beginning, but for most of the movie, but I don't think it's that bad. But maybe because I saw some of it as a kid and I never saw The Fiends until much later on. But be that as it may, please like, share, subscribe, vote in the poll, leave a comment, and if you're watching and listening, whatever platform you're watching and listening on, please listen for a couple more minutes. It really helps the algorithm. We appreciate it. Now, grab yourself a tasty beverage and your hummus of perfection, along with your preferred method of delivery. And let's get into Fiend Without A Face. And we're going to, we've got a lot of pictures here, so we can just move along right now. This is probably, I don't know which one this is, the half sheet. They really like that drawing of the young lady, Kim Parker, in her towel. It happened for like 7 seconds, and that was it. But the brains never got near her while she was in her towel. But what's a good marketing campaign without sex appeal, right? All right. But this movie was filmed it was released in 1958 in the U.S. Both the U.S. and the U.K. It suffered probably a lot of cuts. Wikipedia says it runs for 77 minutes, and the Criterion DVD that I watched ran for it was about 75 minutes, probably 74.1 or something like that. Made lots of money because it's really that ending. It's set up pretty well. I enjoy it quite a bit. As we'll see here coming up, there's the Criterion Collection DVD commentary. And it's got some other fun stuff here, which we'll see a little bit of. But all the screen grabs came from this Criterion release. And it's still for sale pretty cheaply, so if you want it, you should buy it. Listen to those. These fiends have the most memorable sounds when they're about to attack. As a kid, I saw this, just bits and pieces of it, and I remembered the sounds more than anything else. So we're at an Air Force base in the Great White North of Winthrop, Manitoba, Canada, but it's a U.S. Air Force base. So it's, they're worried about the commies, being able to track the commies, and they're using a super new radar so that can see clear to past Anchorage and into all those places over there. So, they're literally trying to see Russia from their house. And this gentleman here, I don't know if he's the guy that gets killed. Yeah, well, he finds the debtor, who was a dairyman. The planes have been annoying the cows.
Brain, it's gone. That's not all. The entire spinal cord is missing. But it's incredible. It's as if some mental vampire at work. Oh.
And there you go. So this story was based on the story by Amelia Reynolds Long, who was a prolific pulp writer in the 30s and 40s, and then went on to do mysteries. It was called The Thought Monster, originally published in March 1930 issue of Weird Tales magazine. Probably should have put a picture of that in there. So I've never read it, but you can find it online. I'll include a link here to the Sci-Fist. Same thing that we did yesterday. He's got a wonderful rundown. I just found this place. Lots of nifty pictures and talks about all of the actors. And there she is right there, Amelia Reynolds Long. So she did, pioneer for science fiction. but she also did a lot of other stuff. And yeah, so she wrote the original story, which was a little different. It was a paranormal sort of thing. Think um, like H.P. Lovecraft sort of thing, but it's the gist is the same, and the names are a lot the same. The movie here was filmed in Britain and is set in Canada with some expat actors. The main one being Marshall Thompson as Major Jeff Cummings. Everybody else was local, and some of them, in Canada, they still had a lot of accents up there. So it was all right. Nobody, I mean, they had, who else was in here? Who's our buddy? Peterson. Where'd he go? Well, anyway, Sergeant Casper. I think that's the fun. He's the comedy relief. All right. Buxton Orr did the music that we're listening to occasionally.
Does it come from another country or another world?
It doesn't come from either. Well, I guess another world, really. And apparently, Arthur Crabtree did not want to direct a science fiction movie and showed up one day and left. And according to many resources, that it was Marshall Thompson who did a lot of the directing. The directing is completely adequate. What really makes this obviously is the special effects, as we'll see in the very the last 10 minutes. The sound effects are great too. Those don't get nearly enough. They don't get nearly enough credit. Remakes. Oh boy, they've been saying they're going to remake this thing for 10 years minimum, and I hope they never do, because why would you? Now there is a band called Fiend Without A Face that I'm not familiar with. All right, there's our hero, Major Cummings, and his obligatory love interest, Kim Parker, as Barbara Griselle. It was her brother that got killed first. And the locals don't like the Air Force Base. Why they need a nuclear reactor to power. Apparently, they needed it to power the super radar. But they work. I mean, they're very bland. I mean, she's got a little personality. He is just like, oh, hep, hep, yo. Think John Agar. Ooh, that had a big one quite a bit. This is a nice little set here they have with the radar as they're running their experiments and using all the nuclear power they can get. I don't know why that's getting a big one like that. I really like just the way this shot is set up. So it's got some nice looking cinematography. Like most people have said, the acting is fair, the direction's fair. It's a standard monster movie from Britain, except for the last 10 minutes. And there is our second victim. I think that is Amelia Adams, and her husband gets the bright idea to stab it. He's going to stab it with a pitchfork. This is about as far as I got into the movie. Not because I didn't want to see what was going on, but because I was busy I was probably 6 or 7 or 8, and we were doing other things. I think by 8, I'd started really getting into monster movies and wanting to watch them. So it wouldn't have been. It was on I think it was on Channel 7, KMGH TV back then. And they had a Saturday afternoon monster show, which is where I saw Godzilla versus the Smog Monster and Yog Monster from Space. And we know what I think of those two movies. And let's go here.
This terrifying menace that G2 must destroy before it's too late.
Image is fading, sir.
There it goes again. Same trouble. How can they stop this invisible force whose only warning is a weird, blood-chilling sound?
Here you go. And it is weird. I mean, and the actors who are attacked do a good job looking like they're being attacked by some. They're invisible. The fiends are invisible for most of the movie. But they're smart because they know how to give themselves more power and mobility. So this is supposed to be cybernetics, logic to electronics, but apparently the writer, who wrote this, the screenplay was by Herbert J. Leader, and he didn't know what cybernetics was, and they just cybernetics and cybernotics. But that's the professor who's in charge, H.E. Walgate, played by Keenaston Reeves, as Professor R.E. Walgate. Pardon me. He's the one that's responsible for the fiends. And here's some more locals. One of them ends up wandering off and seeing something and comes back in looking like this, gibbering. Cuckoo, cuckoo. Poor guy. That is the constable, who doesn't say who that is. And there we go. There's Peter right there in his fancy radioactive suit. This is obviously a painting back there for the nuclear reactor. And there we go. There's the professor. Once they figure out something's going on, he spills the beans. He's already had a stroke, so that's why he's way up in the middle of nowhere in Manitoba. And but he's moving books and things with his brain, but he gets an electrical jolt and he can't handle it, so he figures out, he builds a device to pull in the radioactivity or track it or something whenever they use it. Yeah, most 50s science fiction movies have a certain lapse of logic, some of them a lot, and this one, but you gloss over it. It's only 75 minutes long. And Sven showed it in a 2.5-hour time slot. I watched the beginning, but then kind of went to bed. That's Pete there trying to contact someone. So we're headed for the end of the movie here. Oh, unfortunately, the fiends are at the nuclear reactor. It's pronounced nuclear. That's nuclear. Right, Homer?
Only 2 people still alive can help this agent find the answers. The girl who could be a spy, and the scientist who could be the destroyer of the entire human race.
These trailers are full of beans. She's not a spy. She's the scientist's helper. And he's just this doddering, old man interested in trying to help humanity. The best intentions. He pays for it, though. So the fiends finally absorb enough radioactivity to become visible. They're almost cute in a way. They had little blinking eyes, but they're very memorable. This is where the movie kicks into high gear. Yeah, look, there's a close-up. I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeVille. Or DeMille, pardon me. Not CC DeVille.
We're facing a new form of life.
An ugly form of life, really.
Understand. I believe it feeds on the radiation from your atomic plant, and that it's evil.
I don't know that they're evil, just hungry. Because they're from his brain, as we find out. That would be the professor there. So at the end, they show up, becoming visible, and with about 6 or 7 people trapped in a house. They board up the houses, and while these things are outside, these unstoppable and innumerable monsters are trying to get in and feed on them. That sounds vaguely familiar, doesn't it? Like zombie movies. Every zombie movie. Well, everyone that I've seen, which is not very many, because I don't like zombie movies. Well, if anyone ever wants to do a guest episode about a zombie movie, let me know. I'll be more than happy to entertain that thought, but not a fan. All right. Yeah. So this is the climax of the movie. There's our group of heroes. There's the local doctor. There's 3 military. She's not happy. Well, because they're creepy looking, really. They're iconic. They're almost goofy, but the cast just treats them really, they don't laugh at anything. Here's our comedy relief guy, there's the professor who caused everything, who takes charge for a minute. But, yeah, there's some, smaller ones. I guess they're growing and regrowing.
You've got to stop them. There's only one way: shut down your atomic plant.
If I can get through, I could blow up the control room.
And that's where he goes. He runs out. They distract the brains by shooting at him. You can see once it hits this part, you get some gore. And you don't see one of the people just to die of fright. But the brain monsters, the brainlets, it seemed like I had a name for them at one point in time. The fiends, they bleed and they goop. And the sound effects are amazing. And once again, whoever did the sound effects should have gotten an award for this. Look at that. That is one bloody brain. And there it came down the chimney. This is not Santa Brain. He's not about to give you a noodle noggin doll. There, this guy's the coward, and I don't even remember what his name was, but nobody really. He wanted to leave and run out right in the middle of all the brains, and they made sure he didn't have to waste all that energy. And this is what happens to the brain that chomped him. Look at that goo. The animation was done by two Germans in Germany, and is really good for this movie because they did increase the budget a bit, but it's well worth it. So I'm trying to find out what the name was right there. Oh, Ruppel and Nordhoff's animation. So it's not Harryhausen because they aren't, you know they aren't very in depth. But all you had to do was a brain and a spinal column and a couple of weird legs and spindly eyes. But they never, they're not goofy. This is not the brain from Planet Eris. As much as I love that movie, so the movie they did such good work that it did increase the budget from £50,000 to £80,000 and was delayed for a couple of weeks. But it's well worth it. I mean, it's super memorable. And when you have a final, that's what do you remember at the end of a movie? The final part of it. That's why everyone thought that 2014, not everyone, some of us didn't like it much. But the last part of that 2014 Godzilla movie, the US one, with the fight scene was the best part of the movie because you finally got to see the monster. We won't go into that, but a lot of people was like, that movie's great. And they're basing it on the last, what was it, 5 or 7 minutes. Okay, so they're fighting for their lives. And our hero, there's the doctor who's paid for it. His creations fly at him by propelling themselves with their little spines. And I mean, only one of them could have got enough to eat, but boy, they didn't want him to go anywhere. And there they are again. So it seems like it's going to be an impossible thing. I really hope I got the picture of the brain trying to blow out the fuse when Major Cummings, when Jeff lights it, because what was he going to blow it there? So there's his dynamite. He shoots it midair. Great shot, like all cowboy Americans, right? And look at this. They're trying to pull. That's its spinal column pulling it away. Animation, all the goo and dripping and it's wonderfully gross. So we're gonna keep showing these because they're just wonderful. But Jeff does blow up the atomic plant right as things look hopeless. This is one that only got grazed. 'Tis a flesh wound. But then they shot it again. And one finally does get on Barbara, but the good doctor there, Dr. Bradley, played by Peter Madden, wrenches it off of her before it can sink it, whatever fangs or however it injects itself to suck out the brain and spinal column or spinal fluid. And there's just oozing the gore. There are a lot of toys of these puppets floating around, and I think I've seen one, like it's like a 2 foot long. Even the animation was pretty good sized, but all the animation was done in Germany. So once the plant blows up, they just melt. I mean, into goo, gross goo, and even that, it sounds like acid is eating away at them with that weird sound, but it's just kind of gross. See? And we're getting toward the end here. Is that they're melting, and she's worried about Jeff. He's been gone for hours, and it's probably been like 40 minutes. But she actually keeps her cool for most of the movie until she falls in love. So, and there he is. He's back. He's beat up because he rolls down the side of a hill. He says, "I'm going to leave you here. Make sure you work on relations with the locals, and you're doing a good job." And he was. The end, an amalgamate, and that's where it ends. I mean, what happens? I mean, what happened after all that, really? I mean, all those dead people had to be explained, or was it hushed up? Government conspiracy. The locals would have known. They probably threw a lot of money at them. So that's the movie. Now we're going to see just a few of the publicity here. There's no mark of violence, but how'd they suck out the brains then? the professor accidentally traps old Jeff in a crypt at one point. And this was the British movie that Boris Karloff was in, so this was the double feature, which both of them. I don't know that I've seen The Haunted Strangler, which says more about, but maybe. And here is a DVD cover. Sorry about the quality there. This is the Criterion DVD cover, and it looks they love they were doing all this all the time. They still do probably. Although my Blu-ray of the Carl Zeman movie, the 3 Carl Zeman movies. See, here you go, model collection, resin model collection. I don't know that I'd want one of these things. I want the Youngery figure, but I don't know that I need a Fiend figure. Here's a little publicity, exploitation, new MGM, so brutal murders at young girls. I don't know what people would have thought once they got to that very end. Here's a DVD cover that you can print out if you want. I don't remember where I found it, but it's really nice. I'd like to print one out at some point. So that's why it's there. Finally, there's the Monster Invisibles. This is the French one, obviously. I don't know if it got censored. They cut it up a lot, and some countries just banned it, like Sweden said, no, you're not showing, it's too gross. And I'm sure it got a certificate X in England. Here's just another one. These are some really nice posters. Once again, Kim is in her towel. Got to have a little cheesecake in your movie, right? And we're done. So that's the movie, Fiend Without a Face. I highly recommend it. I find it greatly enjoyable. I don't mind the story. It moves along very quickly if you're not watching it with commercials. So there it is, agents. And until our next assignment, we're going to have another 9 seconds of the trailer play us out. This is X7 signing off.